Okay, welcome everyone, and a good tavach. Thank you all for coming and joining us. We are co-sponsored by the Rezepkowitz family in honor of their parents, and co-sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Eddie Chazan, Lefu Shleimer for Shoshana Bas Panina, and Simone Bas Rachel, co-sponsored by Binyamin Rivlin, Lila Nishmas Yitzchak and Abram Yehuda Levi, co-sponsored by Shelley Zeitlin for his children, Eli, Orit, and Ora, and for my Refu Shalema, sponsored by Berich Gowas, with Akar Satov to the Shir, and Refu Shalema for Moshe Meir Ben Esther Fradel. And we are sponsored by Sheldon Fogel, Lenishmas Yaakov Zeb Ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, and Yosef Ben Sion Ben Yaakov Zev, that the Neshama should have an Aliyah. Also, Irving Fishbaum's wife's mother's yahrzeit was today. Chaya Fega Bas Yeshua Mordechai, and Neshama should have an Aliyah. We welcome in Saba and Ben Sion Cohn, Irving Fishbaum, Yaakov Warman, Yitz and Daniel, Yisrael Fisher, Mel Zachter, Shimon Klein, Nachman Chapler, Yitzi Muller, Dr. Guy, Shelley Zeitlin, Yeshua Yamansky, Rabbi Kranz, Moshe Lehman, Avram Rezepkowitz here in the shul. We have the pleasure of having with us Berish Gesseman, Michal Avram, Ruvain Shanet. We welcome David Helfgott on Kalalosh, and we are holding on the bottom line of Daf Tezayin Amid Beis, bottom line, Tezayin Amid Beis, Sanhedrin Gedola Haisa, the Sanhedrin was 71. So, my time at Rabbanan, how do Rabbanan know that the Sanhedrin was 71? Why? The Imre, because it says Shivim Nefesh, or Moshe al Gabeim, and Moshe was on top of them. Because Akra, the pasuk says, it's Yatzvu Sham Imach, and they will stand there with you. So Imach means Imach va'at ba'adayu. Moshe counts with the 70, so that's 71. Now Rabbi Yehuda says it's the Supreme Court, the Sanhedrin Agadol, was 70. Rabbi Yehuda Imach mishum shchina. When it says Imach, it means that both Moshe Rabbeinu and the 70 elders had to stand outside because of the Shechina. They had to stand outside of the Mikdash because of the Shechina. Rabbanan also have to hold that way. So how do they know that Moshe Rabbeinu was counted together with the Sanhedrin? They will carry with you the burden of the nation. You with them. So it's 71. Rabbi Yehuda says we learned something else out from Itcha. Itcha b'daimin lach. They have to be similar to Moshe Rabbeinu. The judges have to be menukim mikol avain. They have to menukim mikol mum. They have to be without any blemish, and they have to have good yichas. So the Gemara says, well, the Rabbanan also have to learn that out from Itcha. The Rabbanan, they learn out that we count Moshe Rabbeinu with the Sanhedrin. They'll make it more lenient for you. V'nasu itach, and they will carry it with you. Now, even though that talks about minor Sanhedrins, but the V'yolfei Sanhedrin Gedolim is Sanhedrin Ketana, that Moshe Rabbeinu is counted together with the 70, giving you 71. Tan Rabbanan, in making the best of 70, we have a problem how to arrive at 70 fairly. There's 12 Shvatim. 12 times 6 is 72. Right? 12 times 5 is only 60. So how do they arrive fairly at 70? Two men were left in the camp. This is referring to the great Eldad Umeidad. Yesh Aimim, some say that this means bakalpe nishtairu, that their lots were left in the chest, in the box. Now, what is that talking about? So here the Gemara tells us how Moshe Rabbeinu arrived at selecting the 70 Zakanim. Shebishosh Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu LaMoshe Isvali Shivim Ish Min Ziknei Yisrael, gather for me 70 people from the Ziknei Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was stymied. Ketzad Eseh. Ever Shisha Mikol Shevet V'Shevet. If I choose 6 from each Shevet, that's a problem. Nimsu Shnaim Yisayim. 6 times 12 is 72. I'll have 2 extra. Ever Chamisha Mikol Shevet V'Shevet. If I choose 5 from each Shevet, Nimsa Sarach Hasayim. That's only 5 times 12 is 60. I'll be missing 10. Ever Shisha M'Shevet Zeh V'Chamisha M'Shevet Zeh. If I choose from 2 Shvatim only 5, now I can't do that. I'll cause jealousy. Already matal kina ben hashvatim. You never want to cause jealousy. Whoa, you got to be so careful. Especially don't cause jealousy amongst children. You got to be so careful. Me'asa. So what did he do? Beira shisha. He selected 6 from each shevet, which gave him a pool of 72. The Hevi Shivim Mishnayim Pisakin. And he brought 72 papers. Al Shivim Kosav Zakein. On 70 of them he wrote Zakein. Ushnayim Hiniach Chalak. And 2 he left blank. Balalan Unasnan Bekalpe. He mixed them up and put them in a box. Amalahem, he said to them, Bo Utlu Pitakchem. Come and take your papers. Kol Misha Alabiyadei Zakein. Whoever has Zakain Kfar Kitchecha Shemayim. You were sanctified by heaven. You were sanctified by heaven, and you were a selection. If you have an empty, your paper is empty. Hashem didn't want you. He rejected you. What could I do for you? So according to this, Eldad and Meidad didn't come and pick their papers, so there were 2 left in the chest, and that's what it means that Eldad and Meidad v'yishoru shnei anoshim, they were left, they didn't come and take. Similarly, before we're going to learn another pshat in v'yishoru shnei anoshim b'machna, the Gemara tells us there was another such a predicament where they had to make lots. And that was, we know that the ministering was taken away from the firstborns and given to the Levites. So the Kedusha had to be removed from the firstborns. So it was easy. There were 22,000 Leviim and 22,273 firstborns. So the 22,000 Bechar that were transferred to the Levium, their Kedusha went straight off onto the Levium. But what about the 273 extra Bechars? They had to redeem themselves like by Pidyon Haben with 5 shkalim. But how do you know which of the 22,273 had to use the 5 shkalim to redeem themselves? So the Gemara tells us, you should take 5 shekel per skull to redeem the extra bechars. How am I going to choose which bechar has to redeem himself? If I tell randomly a bechar, give me your redemption and be redeemed, Yoimali Kfar Padani ben Levi, I'm one of those that were transferred onto the 22,000 Leviim. Ma'asa, what did he do? Hevi Esem Mishnayim Alafim Pitokin, he bought 22,000 papers because of Aleim ben Levi, that they were redeemed by ben Levi. V'al Masayim, and on 273 papers, because of Aleim Chamisha Shkolim. Balon and the son of Bekalpe, he mixed them and put them in a huge box. Amalachem, and then he told Amalahen, he told the firstborns, Tlu pitachem, take your papers. Misha Alabiyada ben Levi, whoever had a Ben Levi, Amalai Kvar Pedach ben Levi, your kedusha was transferred onto Ben Levi. Misha Alabiyada Chamesh Shkalim, the one who had the paper 5 shkalim, Amar Tain Pidyon Chavatze, give your 5 shkalim and be redeemed. Now we get back as we welcome in Barry Cement. Barry Cement, whose streak is perfect. I mean, he's going to give Cal Ripken such a run for his money, I'm telling you. It's good to have you, Barry, as we are mamish midway on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. Rabbi Shimon says, when it says that they remained b'machane nishtayru, they remained in the camp. B'shosh amalei kadosh baruch hu l'Moshe, isvuli shivim ish, gather for me 70 people. Amru Eldad Ameidad said, Einanu ru'uyin la'isa gedula. We're not worthy to be a member of the Sanhedrin. So they stayed in the camp. They didn't come. Amra kadosh baruch hu hayolami atem atzmakem. Since you acted with humility, Areini Moisef Gedula al Gedulaschem, I will add greatness to your greatness. Oma Gedula Yosef Lem, what greatness did he add to them? Shanavim Kulam Nisnabu Upasku. The 70, they prophesied and then they stopped. Vehem Nisnabu V'loi Pasku. But Eldad Ameidad continued to prophesy. They didn't cease. Now, it's no wonder that Eldad Ameidad were humble. Fact of the matter is Eldad Ameidad's yichus were very, very interesting. If you remember, when Moshe Rabbeinu, when Amram said, why are we having children? Let's separate from our wives. So Tosfos says, Amram was not mavatal the mitzvah of Peri V'Rivya. He said only people that have already a boy and a girl should not have children anymore. So Amram himself already had Aaron and Miriam. So he was Mekayim Peri V'Rivya. So he separated. Yocheved, who was at that time 129 years old, miraculously was given the power to have children. So she in the interim married Eltzafan bar Parnach. And from Eltzafan bar Parnach she had twins at 129. And those twins were Eldad Ameidad. That's why they were called Eldad Ameidad, because Eldad Ameidad, each one nursed from a breast of a woman that was 129 years old. And we know that Yocheved's children were masters of humility. The word Yocheved is the same letters as Vai covered. Woe is honor. So therefore, it's no surprise that Eldad Ameidad were tremendously humble. Now, it says that they had prophecy independent of Moshe Rabbeinu. All the other prophets went through the conduit of Moshe Rabbeinu. They had independent prophecy. Oma Nevuah Nisnabu, what prophecy did they have? They had a very grim prophecy. Moshe Meis, Moshe is going to pass away, and Yeshua Machnas is Yisrael La'aretz. And Klal Yisrael, and Yeshua will bring Klal Yisrael into the land. Abba Chanan Amar Mishum Rabbi Eliezer, Abba Chanan said an alternate prophecy, that their prophecy was, Abba Chanan Amar Mishum Rabbi Eliezer, Al Iske Slavim Misnabim. They prophesied about the quail that would fall down. Alei Slav, come the quail, come the quail. A third opinion is they prophesied about the future Gog, king of Magog. Rav Nachman Amar Al Iske Gog Magog Hayu Misnabim. They prophesied about Gog, the king of Magog. Shenemar Koya Amar Hashem Elikim. So said Hashem, God. Ha'atahu asher dibarti biyomim kadmoinim. Are you the one that I spoke about in the ancient times? Biyad Vodai, in the hands of my servants, Nevi'ei Yisrael, Hanibim Bayomim Aheim, that prophesied in those days, Shanim, all those years before, Lahavi Oischa Aleim, that I'm going to bring you upon Klal Yisrael. Now, al tikre shonim, don't read years ago, ela shnayim, 2. The Ezavein Shnayim Neviim Shenis Anabu Beperik Echad Nevuah Achas, who are the 2 prophets that prophesied in unison about a prophecy, have a Yomer Eldo Demeded. Now, Amar, analyzing a statement that we made, Kol HaNeviim Kulon Nisnabu Upasku. All prophets, they prophesied and it ceased. V'heim Nisnabu V'loi Pasku. And they prophesied and they didn't cease. Minol on the Pasku. How do we know that the Shivim Nefashis, they stopped? They prophesied and they didn't add. But sometimes V'lo Yosafu means that it didn't stop. Elam Yata Kol Gadol V'lo Yosef, by Har Sinai it says it was a great voice that V'lo Yosef, Hakanami D'lo Yosefu, does that mean that it didn't add? Elo D'lo Pasaku, it didn't stop, so maybe it means Adrabah, that the 70 Nefashis didn't stop. Elohach Ksiv Vayisnabu, here it says they prophesied in the past tense, but Hasam by Eldad Ameidav Ksiv Misnabim, prophesizing in the present tense. Adayim Misnabim V'ochim, they continue to prophesy. So Bishlam Elamandiyama Moshe Meis, that it was a grim prophecy that Moshe would die. Hainu D'chsiv, that's why Yeshua said, Adoni Moshe claim, Adoni, my Lord, Moshe, destroy them. Said that Moshe should die. Elamani Amahanach about the Slav or about Gog and Magog, my Adoni Moshe claim. Why would Yeshua say destroy them? Because they prophesied without Moshe Rabbeinu. So it was like doing a psak in front of the Rebbe. The Lav Oirech Arad, the Habalei Talmud Amoira Alocha Lefnei Rabbi. It's like a Talmud that paskins in front of his Rebbe. The Bishlam and the Mandiyama Hanach Tarte, it's good according to the Mandiyama, these 2, that it's about the Slav and about Gog and Magog. Hainu D'chsiv Mi Yitain. Moshe Rabbeinu's response to Yeshua is, would it be that everybody was prophets? Elamandiyama Moshe Meis, is Moshe Rabbeinu happy to hear that he's going to die? Says the Gemara, Yeshua didn't get a chance to tell him what the prophecy was. He didn't get a chance to tell him. Now, my kloim, what does it mean to destroy him? What did he mean by that? Put upon them the needs of the tzibur. Once you put upon them the needs of the tzibur is very demanding, and it'll distress them, and they won't have happiness, and they won't be able to have nevuah anymore, because nevuah is only shor b'seich simcha. Vein kolim me'alein, and therefore their nevuah will stop. Now the Mishnah tells us that a small circuit court was 23. We said v'shaftu ha'eda is 10, v'tzilu ha'eda is another 10, and the Gemara then says, how do we know another 3? Menayin lahavi oid shloisha. How do we know another 3? And the Gemara brings a raya, how we know another 2, and then you can't have a best in shako, so it's 23. The problem is, but we said that we need to have a majority of 2 to convict. But with 23, you're not going to have a majority of 2 to convict. It's only going to be 12 against 11. So what does that help? You won't have a majority to convict. If it's 12 against 11, that's only 1. If it's 13 against 10 for conviction, that's a majority of 3. You only find that when you add 2 judges. In other words, if let's say 22 give their response, and 1 doesn't know, so then you dismiss that 1 and add 2. So then with 24, you could have a majority of 2, 13 and 11. That is always going to be the case by a Bezdin of 23. But Sanhedrin Gedaila, you would have it Valib Rabbi Yehuda Damashivim. It would be by Rabbi Yehuda. We have 70. So if you have 70, a number like 70, you would have 2 because you would have you would have 36 against 34. 36 against 34, you would have a majority of 2. V'amar Rebbe Yavo, b'moisifin, when you add 2, oisin bezdin shakal l'chatchila. That makes an even bezdin l'chatchila. Because as I said, when you have 23 and one doesn't know, you dismiss the one that doesn't know and you add 2. So then you have a bezdin of 24, so it's a bezdin shakal, even bezdin l'chatchila. Says Gemara Pshita, well, not so simple. Maybe the one that doesn't know, we don't dismiss him, we deliberate more, and if he has something to say, we listen to him. Not the same, I to come in your idea, command the Isay dummy. It's as if he's still a participant. If upon further deliberation he has something to say, we listen to him. Kamash Malan, the Hoda Kama in your idea, command the lesser dummy. We dismiss him. And if he chimes in afterwards, we don't listen to him. Now this is a famous, fascinating halacha. Amar Rav Kahana Sanhedrin Shiro Kulon L'Chayva, a Sanhedrin that everybody convicts, Paitunaisa. If all 23 say guilty, we release the defendant. My timer. Because Kema de Gemiri Halonis Din, Lemevid Le Schusa, that we have to leave over the case till the next day in order to find merit. Vahani Sulay Chazulay, if everybody says he's guilty, so there's no one to argue for the merit, so they won't be able to do it, so therefore we release him. It's an amazing halacha. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ein Moishivim b'Sanhedrin, we don't appoint on the Sanhedrin, Ela Bali Kaima, men of stature, Bali Chachma, men of wisdom, Bali Mara, men of good appearance, Bali Zikna, men of age, or Bali Kshaf, men that understand sorcery, so that the defendant shouldn't be able to do any sorcery upon them. The Yoidim Ba'ayin Lashon, and at least some of the participants of the Sanhedrin have to know 70 languages, that they could hear from the witnesses themselves and not rely on an interpreter. Shalaitei Sanhedrin Shoima B'Piyah Meturgum, they shouldn't rely on an interpreter. Am Rabbi Yehuda Amarav, Ein Moishim b'Sanhedrin Elamishi Yodea L'Taras Asheretz Minatar. This is an interesting thing. We only appoint on the Sanhedrin somebody that has such pilpulistic powers that he could give a cogent argument that one of the 8 shvatzim that are tamei in the Torah should be tar. Now, of course, they're not. If the Torah says they're tamei, they're tamei. But he should have such ability to give such an argument. Amar Rav, so Rav said, Ani odoin va'atarenu. I could give an argument to be matar sheretz. Umar noch is shememis, umar betuma. Mandach, a snake that kills and causes a proliferation of tumah in the world, is tar. Sheretz, a toad, which is one of the 8 shvatzim, she'enoi memis, that doesn't kill, Omar Batuma, and cause the proliferation of Tuma, Eino Din Sheyetar. However, the Gemara says Rav's argument is not good, because a poisonous thorn will disprove you. A poisonous thorn that's Mar Batuma, but of course, while it's attached to the ground, it is definitely not Tumah. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Kol ir she'ein bo shnayim l'daber. No, it's still the same Amud. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Kol ir she'ein ba shnayim ledaber. If there is a place where the Sanhedrin is that doesn't have two people that speak the 70 languages, the echad l'shmaya, and one judge to understand the 70 languages, ein yeshivin ba Sanhedrin. You can't appoint there a Sanhedrin. It has to be at least two that speak and one that hears. Ubebeitar avishleisha. In Beitar there was a court that had three that spoke the 70 languages. Ubeyavna arba, and in Yavna they had four people that spoke the 70 languages. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Kiva, and Shimon HaTimni, who did not sit on the court, but he sat in the row of the Talmidim in front of them. V'Shimon HaTimni don lifneihem bekarka, adjudicated before them on the ground. Meisvei, Shlishis Chachama, 3 is a wise Sanhedrin. Vias ein lamala himena. 4, there's no better than that. Now, we learned earlier that Rav said that you only need 2 to speak, and here it says you need to have 3. Says the Gemara, well, Rav hu dama ki haitana. Rav says like the following Tana, the Tanya Shniya Chachama, 2 is a wise Bezdin, Shlish is 3, Ein Lamala Himena, there's no greater than it. Now, the Gemara tells us, this is one of those Shas Gemaras, where the Gemara has phrases, like Mokku Allah b'marava, they laughed in the west, and it doesn't tell us who did it. So, the Gemara now is going to clarify some of these ambiguous, enigmatic phrases and tell us what they mean. L'meidin lefnei chachamim, he learned before the sages. This refers to Levi miRebbi, Levi who learned before Rebbe. Donin lefnei chachamim, they litigated before the sages. This is Shimon ben Azai v'Shimon ben Zayma v'Chanan HaMitzri v'Chanina ben Chachonai. When it says that they debated before the sages, this is a reference to these 4. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Masnei Chamisha, 5, Shimon v'Shimon, 3 Shimon ben Azai, Shimon ben Zayma, Shimon HaTimni, and Chanan HaMitzri, and Chananya ben Chachinoi. When it says Rabbi Seinish Bavel, our rabbis in Bavel, that's referring to the great Rabbi Shmuel. When it says Rabbi Seinish Yisrael, that's referring to Rabbi Abba. When it says Dainei Geila, the judge of the diaspora, that's referring to the great Karna. Dainei Eretz Yisrael, the judges of Eretz Yisrael, that's referring to Rabbi Ami v'Rabbi Asi. Dainei the Pumpadisa, that's referring to Rabbi Papa bar Shmuel. Dainei the Narda, judges of Narda, Rav Ada bar Minyumi. Sabei the Surah, the elders of Surah, that's referring to Rav Huna Rav Chisda. Sabei the Pumpadisa, the elders of Pumpadisa, that refers to Ephah and Avimi b'nei Rechava. Ephah and Avimi, who are the children of Rechava. Amaroi the Pumpadisa, the Amaroima Pumpadisa, that's referring to the great Rabbi of Rabbi Yosef. Amaroi the Narda, that's referring to Rav Chama. Nahar Beloi Masnei. Nahar Beloi, who is Nahar Beloi? Rami bar Rebbe. Rami bar Rebbe. Omrei Bei Rav, they said in the Academy of Rav, that's Rav Huna. Says the Gemara, but that can't be. Because Rav Huna Imrei Bei Rav. Rav Huna himself said that they said in the Academy of Rav. Ella, when it says Imrei Bei Rav, it means Rav Hamnuna. Imrei Bei Rava, they said in the West, meaning Eretz Yisrael, that's referring to Rabbi Yirmiyah. Sholchu mitam, they sent from over there, from Eretz Yisrael, that's referring to Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Mochku Allah b'marava, they laughed about it in the West, that's referring to Rabbi Elazar. Says the Gemara, Vasholchu mitam, how could you say that Sholchu mitam is Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina? It says Sholchu mitam l'divrei Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, that according to Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, so you see Sholchu mitam is not Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Ela Eipach. Sholchu mitam, they sent from over there, that's referring to Rabbi Elazar. Machku Allah b'marava, they laughed about it in the West, that's referring to Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Says the Gemara, V'kama yehei be'ir, v'yehei ru'uyin l'Sanhedrin, how much should be in the city, and it should be roi for a Sanhedrin, meya ve'esrim, a total of 120. Now, where do we come to a total of 120? Meya ve'esrim maya v'detayu. What's the total of 120? Esrim u'shloisha keneged Sanhedrin ketana. So 23 is the court itself. V'shalosh shurei shel esrim u'shloisha. We said we need 3 rows of students. So that's 23 times 4. 23 times 4 is 92. So hare tisha metarte. So we're of the 120, the court alone takes up 92. They had 10 people that were always reserved to ensure that there would be a minyan. So that's 102. That's harimeo trey. Ushnei seifim, we said that there was 2 court stenographers. That's 104. Ushnei charazanim, and 2 court officers that we know that they administered malchus and they sent the summonses. So that's 106. Ushnei balidinin, and the 2 litigants. That's going to be 108. Ushnei edim, the 2 witnesses. That's 110. Ushnei zaymimim, and the people that could say that the witnesses were not there, but they were in Dubai. So that's 112. Ushnei zaymimim, to keep those in check and say, you can't say they were in Dubai because you were with us in the Bahamas. Hare, that is a total of Meya Varbisa. That's a total of 114. Now, we need another 6. Right? So we have to get another 6 over here. Vitanya, Kol Ir She'em Ba'asara Devarim Halalu, any city that doesn't have the following 10 things, Ein Talmid Chacham Rashai Lada B'Seicha. You can't have a Talmid Chacham there. Bezdin Makinveinchen, it has to have a Bezdin which can give lashes and other punishments, excommunication, etc. The Kupa Shel Tzedakah, and the charity collection, Nigvis B'Shnayim, is collected by 2 people, Umischalekes B'Shloisha, and doled out by 3 people. It's collected by 2, but to make a decision of who gets what, you need to have 3. Ubeis HaKnesses, it has to have a shul. Ubeis HaMerchatz, a bathhouse. Ubeis HaKisei, it has to have a bathroom. It has to have a roifei, a doctor, an uman, a bloodletter, a lavlar, a sofer, a scribe, to write mezuzah and tefillos. It has to have umalame tinoikis. It has to have a school teacher. That's in parentheses, so we take that out. Umalame tinoikis, a school teacher. Mishum Rabbi Kiva Amru Afmine Peira. It also has to have types of fruit. Mipnei Shemine Peira Meirin Esoinayim. Fruit illuminates the eyes. So now the question is, what are the 6 over here? Right? We're going to learn that the 6 are the 3 charity collectors, the doctor, the scribe, and the teacher. Right? So that's the total of 6. Only thing is that what about the bloodletter? Right? The bloodletter would be an extra one, unless we'll learn that the doctor and the bloodletter serve together. Okay, now, as Michal Avram says, we'll change the